When I first lost my dad, a lot of my sadness was centered around his absence in ordinary life. Every morning I was met with the shock of his empty chair at the dining table when I came downstairs. There was no one to bully into giving me his parsnips when we had a roast. Saturdays were uneasy and silent without his outdated playlist booming through the speaker and our laughter bouncing off the walls. And 4 years later, and I've grown accustomed to the fact that my life is different now. I have new habits, new daily routines to expect, and those ones are just memories. If my dad, somehow, reappeared and started passing me parsnips across the dinner table again, it'd feel just as jarring as it did when he no longer could. Nowadays, I find myself feeling more sad that my dad never got to see me live a life. He died on the night of my music college induction, so, in many ways, on the precipice of my life just beginning. I haven't sung in a year now. Eventually the thought of never seeing him in the audience was too heavy to bear. My dad only ever knew me as his future star. He doesn't get to discover who I've become now. While he was alive, I had panic attacks on buses and trains, and now I navigate them all on my own. I've visited London multiple times. I've been on the tube. I talk on the radio. I collect strangers in my phone because I like talking to people now. I have no idea what he'd say about any of that. I imagine he'd be very proud, but I never got to hear him say it. I never thought I'd go to uni back then. I didn't think I had the brain or the capability, so I doubt my dad ever expected me to either. How would he have reacted to me applying for a whole degree, or better yet, getting an offer? I don't think he'd know what arts and humanities is, but would he think it suited me? He was always astonished at me finishing books in a day. Part of my love for reading came from the fact that he was so shocked every time I'd announced that I'd read a full book during our 10-hour road trip from England to France. To this day, when I add another book to my pile of finished ones, I picture his reaction. When I first got my offer, I burst into tears. It felt like the culmination of everything I've been working towards. I sat with it for a while and then ran to tell my mum. In my mind, there's an alternate version of that story. One where I don't live in the cottage and I'm still in my bedroom upstairs. I open the email, I cry, I run downstairs into the living room and see my dad on his sofa, my mum on hers. I stand in the middle of the room and I tell them the good news. I don't know what happens next. My dad might have said something like, "Whoa, that's brilliant, George," and I'd be hugged by someone, probably. What sucks about these alternate universes where he's still here while my life keeps moving is that I never would have applied to uni if my dad hadn't died. At least not this specific uni or this specific course, if at all. If my dad was still alive, I think I'd still be singing, and I wouldn't be reading about politics and feminism and philosophy. My worldview would have remained small thanks to the safety bubble that was my family. How would he feel about the fact that I'm performing my poetry at a festival next month? I don't think he even knew I liked to write poems. It only really came about when the songs I wrote stopped sounding like songs. He probably imagined my first festival appearance would be with a band, or, knowing my dad, he thought I'd skip all the music industry drudgery and shoot straight into superstardom, and he'd be my security. I also feel this profound sadness knowing that the new people in my life will never get to meet him. It's hard because, since my dad died, I've grown into myself and my beliefs a lot more. We'd always disagreed on things, but without him here, I could actually make my own mind up, figure out my values and principles and express them. That's to say that if my dad was still here, I wouldn't know the people I now know. I wouldn't want them to meet the dad who fundamentally disagreed with their presence in the world, but I wish they'd get to meet the dad who said ridiculous things and was generous at his core. There is a fantasy version of my dad who accepts the people I love regardless of the fact that most of them aren't straight, white, cisgendered men who really love beer and vote for reform. Eventually, grief forces us to come face to face with the reality of who we lost. For a while, at the start, you've only lost the good parts of someone. I lost his jokes, I lost his voice, I lost the side glances across the dinner table and the way I felt like my dad got me in ways no one else could. I lost the dream we shared together and his unwavering belief in me. My dad wasn't bad, but he definitely wasn't perfect. I've also lost the parts of him that kept me stuck, and that's a different kind of grief. The freedom of it. Would I have ended up here eventually, no matter what? Is there a different universe where my dad gets to meet me as I am now? I don't know, because this is the one I'm living in. My dad always thought I'd turn out alright in the end, though I'm not really sure what that meant for him. We spent a lot of time talking about the future under an umbrella of hypothetical mega success. I'm pretty sure he was convinced that any note I sung could turn water into liquid gold, and not a lot of time talking about the ordinary. I don't know if he thought I'd get married, what job he'd think I'd have if singing never worked out, where he thought I'd live. I just don't know. I'm okay though. I'm going to uni, and I think my dad would have been proud of me. The people I know now will never get to meet him, or the idealized version of him, but, unlike him, they get to meet me, now. My mum gets to watch me move forward, so does my brother, and anyone I grow to love will love me back as I am today. Other people still get to laugh at my nutty sense of humour that he loved so much. I think a lot about how grief is love with nowhere to go. I've put a lot of my leftover love into other people. What happens to my dad's love now that he's no longer here? I think that's where my grief is right now. I am loved though, well loved. Maybe his love was redistributed to other people who then decided to pour it into me again. It's a nice thought, isn't it? I've never been one to believe in the kind of phrases that claim he's always with you or in your heart. Because to me, he's not. He's gone. But I'll allow myself one mystical idea that his love isn't fully gone now that he's not here. Thank you for listening.